Hey, this is Emeka from Gobana Equity with the Stay Ready Real Estate Podcast. If you want to learn how to use your small axe to build an empire, you should be listening to the Small Axe Podcast with my good friend Nico.
Hey guys, it's your boy Nico here from the Small Axe Podcast. I want to show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. You see, not everybody begins their investing career with millions of dollars, a huge network of investors, or the knowledge necessary to become successful in this space, and that's okay. What I focus on here on this podcast is helping you hone your skills, sharpen your tools to become the best investor that you can be. Now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or the guest, feel free to do so. Love you guys. Okay, Small Axe people, Small Axe community, it's your boy Nico, and I'm hanging out here right now today on this beautiful Saturday with a good friend and partner of mine, Emeka. Emeka, what's up, man?
What's going on? How you living?
Good, man. So I got you on this show because I'm so excited to get your story, your journey, the things that you've done and have been able to do in a short period of time, the leaps you've taken to get into this game and the steps that you've taken. I want people to be able to see that and emulate that and just kind of get a vibe of who you are. So thank you for joining me today, man.
Yeah. So I graduated college in 2019. I played basketball 4 years, and I was the first one to graduate, in my family, right? So basketball was never really the main thing. I love basketball. I wish I probably would have played more. I wish I would have, it'd be fun to, make a couple million in the NBA. But the reality was, I'm 6'2", I'm not a point guard. The chances are less likely. So I focused mainly on getting a degree. Mom kind of instilled that in me, and we were homeless at one point. We moved dozens of times from my elementary school to high school, and it was normal to me, but like looking back at it, it's like, wow, you don't see anybody else doing this my age. um, my mom did a good job of trying to keep me out of bad situations. So because of that, I was always in a better situation with kids who don't really know what a struggle is, right? Like I was going to the cafeteria or during lunch for school, everyone's going out, get Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, and I'm out here eating the school lunch, eating a pizza and chocolate milk, right? So once I went to college, I kind of knew that I needed to do something quick with my life, or else I'm just going to go back to where I was, and that's not what I wanted to do. So 2019, graduated college, uh, got a management position for a Fortune 250 paint company, and I did well. I did very well. So I was getting new accounts, gaining market share, helping stores, finding new business. And, I was making 44,000 a year, and I thought I was rich. But, as an assistant manager to begin with, you have to work at a minimum of 44 hours. And then whenever I became a manager, it was a minimum of 48 hours. So there's some people who are looking at me like crazy, like, oh, I work 50, 60 hours a week. Well, yes, I technically work that much too, if we consider the real estate I do on a daily basis. But the W-2 wasn't that fun, right? I was tired. I was coming back home thinking like, wow, like, I made it out of being a statistic, but is this it? I'm 21 graduating out of college, right? So I was like, did the calculations, average retirement age, 65, that's 40 years I'm supposed to just feel like this.
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
God.
I'm 21, it's my prime, right? Like they want
Yeah.
us to have fun. They say your young years is the best, but you can't, you have to live under someone else's rules until you're 60. It makes sense. If I want to go on a vacation, have to ask permission. If I get sick, I have to let them know I'm sick and that's why I'm not coming in, right? If I don't do anything creative on my terms, I have to ask a boss. I have to ask his boss, maybe. I have to ask permission. I have to ask if somebody could cover me, right? So my time wasn't really my time. Since they're paying me, it was their time. So I quickly realized that maybe a couple months when I got my career, and then Googled real estate. Found out I know Graham Stephen was the first person that got me into it on YouTube. Then I started listening to Meet Kevin, and then I found Bigger Pockets. saved up for a year, got a house. Next year, got another house. Following year, got another house, right? So this is 2019. And then the goal was to make $1,000 a month net a year. And my calculation was, okay, let's buy one single family house a year, cash flow $1,000, 10 years, I'll be 31, 10,000 a month net, and I'll be done. Well, let me tell you what, Nico, that did not happen.
No,
So after that first house, I cash flowed maybe like 500. It was good, don't get me wrong.
that's good,
Second,
man.
it was,
That's pretty good.
Midwest, Raytown, Missouri.
What was the
And
acquisition cost, or what was the price?
so price 80,000. I think I put down like $5,000. I had
Dude,
my own
that's
money.
sick.
It was nice. Um, I think I put about 40 into it. It appraised for 150. My mortgage was 500. I rented it for I think 1,300. It's been a bit. So it was a nice deal. It's probably one of my better deals. I refied, then my mortgage went up, but I was still cash flowing about $400. So it was nice. But yeah, that's the intro to my real estate life.
Cool,
So
man. So what about those? So how did you like on the first one? How did you know what to buy? Like, how did you know you're getting a good deal? Was it what kind of area was it, and and did you sell it? Like, what happened with that first one?
yeah, so I'll tell you the whole story, right? So number one, I would say the number one thing that I wish I kind of did back then was have more help. So because I never had a mentor, because there was no one in my family, I didn't really have friends who did this. I was just going based off YouTube and books. But I didn't know anything at the end of the day. Like, I listened to the podcast, but I just kind of figured it out as I went. And I found a realtor through Bigger Pockets. I called them while I was in Texas. This is before I moved because after college in Kansas, I moved back to Texas for a year. I called that realtor in Kansas City. I was like, "Hey, my name is this. Found you on Bigger Pockets. Um, I want to buy. I'm here to invest. I want to start getting listings." He sent me a duplex listing. Once I was able to actually go out there and look at it, it looked like a bad neighborhood. I wasn't there long enough. I got scared, quite frankly, and I didn't do it. But he then sent me a single family home in a nice area. I didn't look into the city at all, right? I drove to the house, looked left, looked right, neighborhood looked okay. There's a school right behind it. It was an elementary school. Anytime I see a school, there's no sex offenders. They have to be at least 25 miles away. And it looked like there was a good value add opportunity. He said what he think I could sell it for, about 140-ish. I said, let's do it. Quite frankly, I didn't question him. I didn't fact check anything. I just figured that the number one thing for me to do is get into it and figure it out as we went along. So I did everything. I did almost everything right. Right. I used my own money. It was a conventional loan, I think like 3 to 5% down. And I was able to get almost all the rehab done, just cash. One of the number one things that the first 3 years of my real estate that I did not do was have reserves, and that's something that I'll never do again, right? I was just going at it, reserves. I was living like I would live for free. My girlfriend at the time, not my wife, she let me live, at their house. So I didn't have too many expenses. So I was just gung ho. But the number one issue was I didn't have reserves. So once I got that thing rented, I rented it to affordable housing Section 8. 3 months into it, the housing authority calls me and said they cannot pay for her rent anymore because she lied on her application. But they
Oh,
were able to provide the rent for the first 3 months, not knowing, or I didn't know that it was still in review. I never learned that on the podcast. Nobody taught me that in the book. I wouldn't have known unless I experienced it, right? But throughout that entire property, I was still able to get the rents. I got the late fees. Some things were out of pocket, but I wasn't saving. So even though I had this money, I just wasn't saving. I put some back into it. I have a little account, but the lessons from this property is have reserves and maybe have help, right? I did everything on my own. So, like I said before, to answer your question, I bought it for 80. I put 40 into it, so we're at 120. It appraised for $150,000. But this was me having it for a year, and I just went under contract for my third house in Lawrence, Kansas, which I still have today. So the goal was to sell this property to buy the third property in Lawrence, Kansas,
Hmm.
but the timing was very bad on my part. But I had contact with a wholesaler. He said he's willing to buy it. Looking back at it, I felt like he juked me, right? He made it seem like, okay, well, you're in this issue. I'm here to help. Because of the windows, I can't give you that extra 25. And I was just a yes man. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't do any research. Like I said, I did all this alone. I wasn't able to go anybody for help. I had no one at that time, right? But my realtor. But he wasn't, I mean, he's my realtor. He's not going to just tell me how to do a business plan.
Hmm.
So I ended up selling that property for $125,000.
Mm.
Used all the proceeds to purchase my third property, which is a single family home. It was a 2-1 that I turned into a 3-2. And right now that's cash flowing. Well, I'm breaking even there. But when I say breaking even, I have a HELOC on it. So it's paying the HELOC, it's
Mm.
paying the mortgage, and it's paying that like minor expenses that happen, right? So I think the actual cash flow is maybe like a couple $100, but that's, I mean, when something goes bad, that's gone, right? So I'm breaking even. But the
Hmm.
way I see it is that's a property that I have where the equity's going down and I'm not paying for it.
Yep.
So that's on a 15-year 2.99 interest rate.
Oh, that's sick, man.
Yeah.
That's going to be epic. That you're going to be able to roll that into something. You're buying into that, paying down that mortgage fast. I like that.
No, exactly. And I love it. And the goal is to I don't think I'll ever really get away from single family homes. I just think I'm in multifamily, right? My partner. Multifamily is great. Once you start putting your money back into it as an LP, you'll start making that income. But when it comes to single families, that's an opportunity to own an entire property under your name, under your business name. So it's all yours. And when it comes to selling and things like that, you don't necessarily need to answer to anybody, talk to partners about it. So I think single families are still great, but I wouldn't do too much of it, right? If I were to get another single family home, which I will, my goal is to put it in places throughout the country where I'd want to visit or stay. So I have family in Texas, I have family in Iowa, and my family in Iowa likes to go snowboarding and skiing. So getting a house in Denver makes sense to me. Maybe a
Mm.
short-term rental, maybe a midterm rental, but then schedule it where like every summer we go to Denver for skiing. So there's like 3 weeks out of the year that we have a house to go to without having to pay anybody else
Hmm.
and do things like that. So that's kind of like my goal with single families and real estate overall. With multifamily, I want to build wealth and use that as a gateway to go into real estate as my full-time job because I have an ultimate goal to build condos around a lake. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. So you jumped into multifamily how long ago? And I'm not going to share the story. You can share the story, but you moved down to Florida, like took the leap. Tell a little bit about all that.
Oh yeah, that's a fun story that my wife sure loves. But um so I guess I'll go back to the beginning, right? So I'm from Texas and I love it not having snow. I hate the snow. I'm in a bad mood every winter, right? And it's something that I can't control. So it makes it even worse. So when I went to college, I met my now wife in Topeka, Kansas. After college, went back home to stay for a year, came back out there. I've always known I want to go back to a warmer state. I chose Florida because there's a beach and my wife loves the beach. And and that was the place that I figured that it would be great to go to because Texas, I have family out there, but we want to do something new. We're young, do something that, no regrets, right? But I joined the mastermind, MIH mastermind in 2022. I think it was November 2022 exactly. Met people, heard all about multifamily real estate. And before I joined that mastermind, I read Brian Burke's book. The hand I think it's is it the hands off investing?
I'm not
But
sure.
once I read that book, I got once I figured out a little bit more about multifamily before I joined the mastermind, I was like, I'm gonna do all this by myself. I'm gonna learn how to underwrite. I'm gonna learn how to capital raise. I'm gonna build a relationship with brokers. I'm gonna do everything by myself. So what I did was I got a notebook. I started writing down every person that I think that might want to invest with me in the future. I built a little rapport. I bought 3 houses. They did well. I'm still alive, right? And, I had a following, right? So people have seen the progress. They know that it's not a scam, like, they saw me from the ground up. It's still all on my Instagram if you wanna see. So, I started calling people. I started emailing my friends of friends, family, was like, "Hey, would you be interested in investing in me if I brought an opportunity to you?" So, once I got that list, I started calling brokers. Brokers wouldn't give me any light of day, right? Like, they're like, "Who is this guy?" And originally, I was like, "I wanna invest everywhere," right? There was, like, Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, never New York, but, like, everywhere. So I was calling brokers from different states, and then after I called them, I'd never hear back. No emails, no nothing. And I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So, found MIH, joined the mastermind. And one of the biggest things was I had to provide value. So I talked to Yosef Brosef, and I was telling him, hey, like, I manage these $1 million companies. I have great management experience when it comes to asset management. I think I can handle that. I'm a tough cookie when I need to be. So if I need to, get something done or hold, contractors or property managers accountable, I have no issues with that. So I was like, is that my value? Because I've managed $10 million, storefronts before. Long story short, he said no very kindly, kind of broke my heart a little bit. He said that that's not really a value because it's not multifamily. So as soon as he said that, I'm like, I have to find a team. I need to figure out where that team is and where I want to invest. And I knew that you were looking in Florida briefly, and there was a couple other people that I knew was looking in Florida. And then somehow I encountered Lakeland. I think I saw your property in Lakeland, quite frankly. I don't know the details of how I chose Lakeland, but once I did my research on Lakeland, it was like, okay, the opportunity is there. If I were to leave my job now, I will have opportunity for a W-2 in Lakeland as well, since the growth is ginormous. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to Lakeland. My whole focus is for the opportunity. I know that I'm not gonna live here forever, and I know if I don't do it now, I'll most likely regret it." Right? I just got married, and the chances of us being in Florida forever and being away this far from our family are quite slim. The longer I stay in Kansas City, the the bigger the bond's gonna be, right? It's gonna be harder to leave later. So I started looking for jobs. I found the one that made sense that wanted to get me. It was ADT Security. Put my 2 weeks in and then went all in, right? And then from the time I accepted the job, from the time I left was like a month. So think of it from my wife's perspective, like, hey, I just put in my 2 weeks. Hey, I have to move in a month or two. So from the personal perspective, that was probably more of a challenge. So if anyone's taking a leap, I would just make sure that all parties involved kind of understand the goal, understand why, and understand, the big picture. Because I did a bad job of expressing that. But moved to Lakeland with the sole purpose of gaining my real estate portfolio, specifically my multifamily portfolio. I was here to find a team. I was here to find a team who want to invest in Central Florida, and I did. So originally, I met with Tom, Bridget, and then we were having weekly meetings while I was still in Kansas. And then I was networking my butt off. So I was networking with a bunch of people. We ended up networking. I actually don't know our first introduction, quite frankly, but we ended up meeting. And then I was like, hey, like, I'm in Lakeland. I'm in Florida because I'm trying to build this portfolio. And one of the things Marco and Yosef was telling me, and Hadar was like, you know, what can you do? What can you offer? I don't know what it was or what like seminar it was, but they said that there was this one guy who, they said that if someone asked him to go look at a property, he would just do it, no questions asked. He drove 6 hours away to go look at this, and then now he got a deal. And I was like, well, I'm in Lakeland. I'm a sales rep, so I'm on the road all the time. I see what's going on. So I made it a priority to make sure that my value can be going to properties fast to send videos because boots on the ground is more important than I thought originally. So I offered my services to y'all. No questions asked. I was not looking for money from anyone, quite frankly. All I was looking for is experience to gain relationships and gain rapport. And I'm a big believer of, walking the talk. I say a lot of stuff and it doesn't mean anything unless I prove it. So that's a little long story of how I got into the Florida market into multifamily.
Yeah, dude, you've been a stud for us. And I do remember our first call. It was like you were sitting in your car, and it was like an iPhone Zoom meeting, and it was fun, man. I was like, this guy's just so open, so willing, and we need people that are boots on the ground. We had one real boots on the ground partner for our 44 unit, but he ended up taking a job and wasn't as available as we liked. And then we just called upon you sometimes, and I was like, I was so amazed at how willing you were to help out that I was like, all right, this guy is in. And next deal, whatever deal we get, he's in. Because I mean, besides the go-getter mentality and the go-giver mentality, you also had skills, right? Because you had, like you said, you had that experience as a manager, you had the experience in single family, and now you were all in because you jumped the gun and went from Kansas City to Florida, just moved. I was like, this guy's incredible. So long story short, we had within 1 year, we had that 10 unit. We offer on deals all the time. You and I, you tour deals all the time. You look at, you drive deals, you send awesome video clips, you walk properties, you get like secret conversations between you and tenants. Like the work that you're doing is invaluable. And today we're close on a few deals. I'm guaranteeing, and I'm putting this out there, by within a week or so we should have another deal under contract, and we're doing it, man. And I'm just so grateful for you and all that you provided for us, and we're a team now, and I love that, and we're going to be working and moving forward together for a long time. So thanks, Emeka.
No, I appreciate it. And one thing being in this role was one of the things that I was always afraid of, right? Is, number one is underwriting because I'm not a numbers guy. Of course, I got 2 degrees, marketing and management, all business. I took all the math classes. But like during college, I struggled in math, right? Like getting a degree doesn't really mean anything, quite frankly. It just means that you have a piece of paper that job can say, oh, he got it. We
Mm.
can hire him, right? When I got my job, it's not like they called my school. It's not like they actually got my transcripts. On my resume, it said I graduated and they just believed it. So that meant nothing. But the reason why I say that is because underwriting was one of those things I was afraid of because things don't click as fast in my head when it comes to those numbers. But another thing that I was taught in the mastermind was focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. And I love talking to people. I think I have, normal or basic sales skills. I don't mind I think I can talk to anybody, no matter where they're from, who they are, what they believe in. I think I can generally have nice dialogue with anybody. So I use that as a strength. I think it's a sales skill. So whenever I'm going to these properties, my goal is to figure out who I can talk to or what information can we get that most of other people don't, right? So there's someone out there talking, and be very careful when you're doing this because you don't want to alert anyone. You don't want to alert the owner, the property manager, or the broker that you're trying to like do anything behind their back, which I'm not. All I'm trying to do is figure out what's going on in the area and figure out, is there anything that we're not being told that we should know, right? So I visited a property once and there was a tenant that was out, and I just asked, like, hey, how's the area, right? I was like, I just moved to Florida. We're looking for places, right? I didn't lie. We were looking for places, so we didn't have anything secure. So you got to figure out your the way to open a door, right? Hey, my name is this. I do this. What's going on? I'm just looking in the area. And the next thing you know, you'll learn that all tenants will tell you everything, everything they love. And they'll also tell you everything they hate. They'll tell you what's
Uh-huh.
going on because, I mean, quite frankly, people just love to talk. And then once you put interest in somebody, then they're interested in the conversation. So I try to use these different skills to figure out as much information as possible to relay back to my team. And I'm a big believer of, okay, people say a lot of stuff, and a lot of things happen in my life that doesn't seem believable. So I like to take video recordings. I like to record conversations as long as I have consent, of course. But it's like I love to have this stuff because now we can always go back to it. Because Nico, we might make an offer on a deal and we don't even get it 6 months later. And then it's not like we look at that deal every day. So now we got to go back to our notes and figure out what happened with that deal. So my my role as a boots on the ground, I take very seriously because I want to make sure that the value that I'm giving is something that you don't necessarily get anywhere else from somebody else doing boots on the ground.
Yeah, I remember it's a couple stories, man. Of like we're looking at properties and some tenants like, oh, there were gunshots yesterday over there. Somebody got shot, etc. So, I mean, those stories are invaluable, especially when we're negotiating with brokers. And if something falls out of contract, like you said, well, now we have a leg to stand on. It's like we know a little bit more about this property and this how it's going to how what we need to do to turn this property around than other people. So we're ready. We're not tire kickers. We know what we're doing when we go into these things.
No, exactly, exactly. And I think we've talked about it briefly, but what do brokers like, right? They like to find a buyer who can close. They like to find a sophisticated buyer who's not going to retrade because of something they found out, right? We want to find out everything to begin with. So then when we go into contract, there's no surprises because we found out all about the surprises. Of course, we're still going to need to do our inspections to make sure there's no further surprises. But the more detailed information, the more information that we can gather on our own before going under contract, the stronger we are to close. Because now we can tell our investors, hey, we knew about all this stuff beforehand, right? We did the research. We can tell the broker, hey, listen, like I understand you're coming at this and it makes sense, right? Brokers are salespeople. People don't really get that. I'm a salesman. Brokers are salespeople. They are the same as the person that comes to you when you walk into a car dealership. Their goal is to sell you something, a property, at the best price that they possibly can, not the best price that we could possibly buy it at. So they don't really care about what's going on. They care about making sure it looks as pretty as possible and telling us all the best things about it. So whenever we go into a deal, when we go to brokers and when we go to our investors, we can confidently say, hey, we are pretty prepared to acquire this. We're prepared to run this effectively because we've done our homework. We've done the research. We have somebody on the ground who's been at the property. He's physically touched the property. He's been in the units. He knows what the landscape is like. I always circle the neighborhood every single time. Because now I can say, hey, the neighborhood feels like this. I judge a lot of neighborhoods based off if my wife can walk the dogs out at night because we have dogs and I understand what it feels like to be alone walking in a neighborhood, right? I've been in tougher neighborhoods, so I can handle it, but everyone's not me. So if I feel like my wife can't walk our two dogs at night, that is something that's valuable to me because then we kind of know what the tenants feel like. So that's why I think that doing your homework and making sure that you're providing as much valuable information and bringing in as much resources and anything that you can get to the table before going to contract is very important.
Love it, man. And your advice that you said earlier, finding what you're best at and building on your strengths is so crucial and key. It's hard to do though. It's hard to find them. For me, it took me like honestly a couple of years. So not everybody finds it quickly. I thought again, just like you, I could do everything and I can't. But what really what I found, what I really love to do and what I feel like I'm best at is just the acquisitions part. I don't love necessarily managing after doing the asset management. I don't feel great at it. It's just not where I'm passionate. Where I'm passionate is finding those weird deals and making them work and putting a team together, negotiating with the broker and getting it done. That's what I love to do. But it literally took me a couple of years to figure that out. And that's okay. You kind of got to your sweet spot a little faster. Do you have any advice for people to kind of find their route a little quicker, like you did?
I would say finding your route, right? Figure out the different things in real estate that you can do, right? I don't even focus on what you like, what you don't like. Figure out the things in real estate from a partnership perspective, from a team, because you're not going to get into multifamily without a team. Figure out the assets that people need in the team, and then reevaluate what you do right now, right? I was a manager. I like to manage. I was good at it. I could tell people what to do. I was not saying that as like a dictator, but I could tell people what to do and have them do things, do different things collectively for the one goal, right? I was at a paint store. Goal was sell paint, and sell paint to new people who didn't have it or didn't buy it from us before. So I was good at the management. I was good at the talking to people, contractors, randoms, of bringing value to them, right? You can get this paint because of this, right? And I enjoyed that. I love the fact that I could help them solve one of their issues, right? So there was a people aspect of it that I was good at, and managing, right? I was a property manager for my own properties. So just management in general was something that I felt natural at. And also, I love talking to people. I love talking to people, and I don't mind driving. So to find out what I'm good at and to hone in on that, like you asked, it's like I just figure out what I'm doing already and what I enjoy already. Looking for something that you're good at, I don't necessarily think is the best idea. I think is just continue to do what you do and then make a conscious decision of the things you're doing. Do you like it or do you not? Whenever I got into multifamily, I love to underwrite. I love to read. I love to, reach out to brokers. It was because I was excited about multifamily, though. It was false, it was false advertising to myself. I was excited about joining multifamily versus being excited about doing that, right? I wasn't excited about underwriting. I mean, I can underwrite better, but I was just excited of the process that I was trying to do. And then like after months and months and months of not doing anything, I was like, okay, this is not for me. So when I got to Lakeland and I reached out to you, I'm like, okay, well, I can go to a property. It seemed simple to me, but it wasn't, right? Because it's not like y'all just had someone to go to a property and take pictures on a dime. That's valuable. There's a lot of teams out there who don't have boots on the ground. There's a lot of teams out there who have never seen the property themselves, right? You hear it, on a daily basis. Some of them have boots on the ground, but some of them don't. But since I am here, I knew that's something that I could do and that I would enjoy. Because the way I see it right now is not only do I get to see different areas and see what's going on, this is the hunt. I'm 27 years old. This is my beginning, and this is almost all of our team's beginning in multifamily. So all the things that I'm doing now is only going to help me in the future. Because once I strengthen this up to a T, I don't want to be boots on the ground forever. Now I know whenever I am ready to underwrite and when I'll generally enjoy it, I know what to expect from them and how to hold them accountable. So when it comes to finding the niche, finding what's important to you, what's good, I would say don't try to force yourself to find out what's good for you, right? What you're good at and what you like is already there. You're gonna find new things that you like, but if you're trying to force it, it won't come natural. So my advice to all those who are trying to figure out what they're good at and what they want to focus on is let it come natural, because multifamily is a patient game. You're not going to get something in the next day. I would argue that I was able to get into a unit quicker than most, which I think it was like 10 to 11 months. But that's 10 to 11 months I had to figure out my strengths, right? That's how I'm figuring out, like, okay, let me continue to sharpen my axe for these 11 months. And then once we got that deal, I'm still sharpening, but now I know which ways to go, how to approach certain things, and the urgency of it.
And you also took big action. I mean, you moved, you literally up and moved, which is wild. You took a new job, new jobs plural, because it's like you're making it all happen. And you got to give yourself credit for all the action you're taking, because there are people out there that are just as hungry as you. They're just not taking that action. And you took some serious action. And funny enough, man, I have never seen our 10 unit yet. I saw our 4 unit, but I don't need to, in the sense that I have you there. You know what I mean? And I trust you.
Exactly.
And I learned how to, instead of me learning how to walk a property and look at X, Y, and Z, I am learning and focusing my skills on looking at your videos and your commentary and your notes. So it's doable from afar if you have somebody like you. If I didn't have you there, I would not feel comfortable at all doing that deal. So thank you, man. And this is a testament to the fact that teams work, teams are necessary, and you need a boots on the ground. So crushing it.
Perfect. And I
Yeah.
want to add on to that point where I move, like, yes, what I did was crazy. Let's not even, sugarcoat it. But it was a matter of how bad did I want it? I told everyone, I told my family, like, listen, this is what I want to get into. And I told everyone that I want to get to Florida like a year or two before. So it might have been, kind of crazy that I did it, but I wanted it bad enough. I knew it wasn't really gonna, in the long haul, it wasn't gonna hurt anything. And it was a now thing. It was a now thing, right? How bad did I want it? I wanted to get in multifamily. I knew how I grew up and I knew where I wanted to go. And quite frankly, nothing was going to stop me. And some people might see that as a good thing, some might see that as a bad thing. What risk did I take? I took a lot of risks, right? Whenever I got up and left, once I got my W-2 this year, I was shocked. I made less than half of what I made as a manager, less than half.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because I had a new job. I took a salaried and commission job to straight commission. And the reason why I did that is because I wasn't thinking of the bad that can happen. I was strictly focused on my skills and what I can think. Bad things can always happen every single day, no matter what. So I'm not going to focus on that. So I focus on, okay, I'm good at this, so I'm going to make this much money. Move didn't happen. I incurred a lot of debt, right? For that 11 months where I had that job, that 11 months once I got the new job, every single 2 weeks, every single month, my income was below my expenses significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, I had to pull out from my 401k couple $1,000s because there was some bills that I could not pay for. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that simple. And then on top of that, I have a wife who is doing something that she's never done before. She's never been more than 3 hours away from her family. And all of a sudden she has to move to Florida, right? And
Oh
she has to
boy.
get a house and she doesn't see the house, and you can assume that she's just loving me dearly throughout this whole process, right? Like there's no issues at all, right? And
Oh
on
yeah.
top of that, we got a new house with, a $1,900 mortgage payment. So I just added, I just added 900 plus to my expenses on top of
Mm-hmm.
a Verbo, on top of credit card debt, on top of a variety of things, and it was stressful. It was stressful. Sometimes I was working, my head was on my head, and my wife comes in my office just asking me if I'm okay. And I was always okay. I was always going to make it. Some days were bad, but I looked at it as, where have I been? Right? I've been homeless before. I've been in 10 times worse positions. I've made a lot less money, and I figured out the way to make it work. And at the end of the day, things will always work out, right? They don't work out unless you're dead. Right.
Yeah, my
So I
man.
just like, I mean, it's the truth. We'll go through lots of issues, right? Lots of pain, but it's gonna work out. If we go to sleep and wake up, it worked out because we lived for another day. We just gotta figure out how to handle these situations. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because yes, I moved to Florida. Yes, I took a lower income job. It worked out. Now I have a great job that, treats me well. I'm able to do things. Now I'm catching up on my credit card payments. Now I'm going to be hopefully debt free by the end of the year. Now it just leaves up more money where I can actually invest more back into deals and then do more things that I want to do. So when it comes to the leap I took, I'm not going to hide it. It was a big leap. I took a big chance and a big risk, and I'd probably do it again. Because at the end of the day, even though I went into debt and things that I did might seem like a failure, let's say I didn't jump, right? Let's say I didn't move. If I were to stay in Kansas City not moving, what would I think about? I'd be thinking about on a daily basis, what if, right? What if? I shoulda, I coulda. I never want to think that, right? Now, the chances I take now, the risks I take now can be a little bit more calculated because it's not just me, it's a family. But that's how I'm going by life. Like, I don't want to what if. I have no regrets because I did it. I don't have to worry about what happens. I know what happens because I did it. So, and I wanted it bad enough, quite frankly. You hear people all the time moving because they wanted it bad enough. I wasn't going to be that person. No one's going to come to me saying, you didn't want it bad enough. No, I did want it bad enough. And now
Hmm.
I'm entertaining a deal, and now we're making offers, and things are starting to flow a little bit more frequently.
Yeah, man, we're gonna get one this week. You watch. Now, uh, this is a perfect segue, my man. Let's transition to our final question because I love this enthusiasm, I love the energy, and I love the outlook of life in general from a far perspective, way up above. So let's do that with this question. Mecca, let's imagine it was 100 years from now. You have great great grandchildren. You have a bunch of dogs running around. You're in happy neighborhoods. You're crushing it as a manager in real estate. You're at the top. You got your own teams going. Everything is awesome. And your great great grandchildren wanted to write a book about you. What would you want them to title that book?
How did he do it? And the reason why is just because um, my position now is a lot better than what it was before. And I still have a long way to go. But when I look back on my purpose, my why is my family. And my mom was a single mom raising two kids, right? The reason why we had to move so much is because we couldn't always afford the rent hikes or the jobs weren't always there. We get laid off and things like that. My mom worked her butt off to make sure that we were in a position, me and my brother, to not fail, essentially. And the things that I went through as a kid, I'm grateful for because then I didn't realize what a struggle was. But looking back at it, right, I had to eat at the school lunch. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just a situation that we had, right? Opportunities just didn't come to our doors like most things happen. But to tell someone that I went from homeless to the first person to graduate in my family, to move into different states, to buy my first home. I'm the first one in my family to ever buy a home, to buy multiple homes, investment, to be in a multi-family deal, to continue to look for deals, to have a podcast, to have a website, and to continue to spread wealth. And I'm just at the beginning, right? The things that I have is nowhere near where I want to be or where other people are. But to be where I am, to where I came from, people in high school, people in middle school, the people who grew up with me, how did he do it? Right? And the book would be telling just so. It took hard work, dedication, passion, and a lot of ignoring, right? I had to ignore a lot of noise, right? You can't do that. Why would you do that? This doesn't make sense. And yeah, it's true. Looking back at it, I was crazy, quite frankly, but I'm also a visionary,
Yeah.
right? And I think Rick Ross said it at some point, but like I'm a visionary. I have a vision and I have plans and action steps to get to the vision I have. And at the end of the day, everyone's not visionaries. Everyone can't see that. So that's why they can't understand. And that's why I can't always listen to those people.
Yeah, well, Mr. Mecca, thank you for the awesome motivation. Thank you for being a friend and a partner. I could not do this without you, so I truly appreciate you. We did not mention your Stay Ready podcast, which is epic, and I'm sure people are going to want to reach out to you and or find that podcast. So let's get people some way of reaching out to you and finding your podcast.
Yeah, honestly, you have to if you just Google Stay Ready Real Estate Podcast, you're gonna find everything. My website's gonna be on the links. My social media is gonna be on the links. Stay Ready Real Estate Podcast, where we stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Boom. All right, my man. We will be on a chat today. Obviously, we talk all the time. But for the listeners out there, reach out to my man Emeka. He's awesome. He can give you a lot of help and guidance, and check out his podcast.
No, I appreciate it, Nico. Until next time.
All right. Hey, Small Axe community. I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smallactscommunities.com. Book a call with me. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.